So beautiful.
Oh, I don't know, I wasn't expecting that one. Yeah, they're just it's just so great. This is why it's so nice to not have makeup on.
Meghan Markle just pulled a move so perfectly polished, even her raw and real moment turned out to be a total scam. Could things get any more fake than this? When Meghan appeared on Jamie Kern Lima's podcast, the world didn't know that they were in for a surprise. And in the end, the audience was left completely betrayed. Initially, the whole setup was sold as intimate, stripped down, and super real. Meghan and Jamie would have been rocking cozy outfits, sitting in good old-fashioned rocking chairs, with no makeup in sight. Jamie even admitted she'd never done an episode without makeup before, and laughed as Meghan leaned in with a cheeky remark, "Do you think I have?" But then, Monday hit, and when fans hit play, Meghan didn't look casual. In fact, she looked like she was about to step into a Vogue shoot. She had dewy skin, flawless complexion, lips with a hint of tint, brows on point, and that tousled hair that looked like her glam team clocked in for 3 hours to perfect it.
We spend so much of our life trying to prove something. To prove that you're enough. You have to prove that you're pretty enough. You have to prove that you're smart enough.
One savage commenter summed it up by saying, "No makeup? Try no shame. That's fake tan, brow gel, and lipstick all day." And that hoodie she wore was definitely not from a bargain bin. Fans were quick to point out she was still decked out in designer sweats, diamonds sparkling, and not a single trace of Walmart in sight. So while the camera framed it as relatable mom realness, viewers were like, "Nice try." The verdict was that Meghan's raw moment looked more like a magazine shoot disguised as a pajama party. One critic didn't hold back. She thinks a pair of sweats makes her relatable, but she still shows up like she's on set. The disconnect was loud. For a crowd tired of curated vulnerability, this just felt like another PR dress-up. And of course, the waterworks arrived right on cue. About halfway through this heartstring tugging session, Meghan took it straight to Hallmark. She began talking about a tradition she started for her children, sending them daily emails so they'll have memories to read when they're older. Sounds sweet, right? Well, cue the trembling voice, and then came the grand finale. The single tear. Yes, that one dramatic drop slid perfectly down her cheek like it had its own agent. Meghan quickly dabbed it away and whispered through a quivering smile, "This is why it's so nice not having makeup on." That was the golden moment, the emotional climax of the whole production. But instead of weeping, many viewers paused. They hit rewind and realized that that tear was just too perfect, a little too on the nose. If you've been following Meghan, you know why that raised eyebrows, because this is the same woman who once laughed on camera about her uncanny talent for on-demand crying.
Don't make yourself cry. Yeah. Oh, I can do that so well. Oh my God, it's crazy. You're like, "Meghan, one tear, left eye, go. Give me 3 seconds."
So when that one dramatic tear slid down her cheek during her super unscripted podcast, the internet lit up with skepticism. One person tweeted, "This gave Amber Heard in court energy." Some straight up called it staged, citing her funeral tear from the Queen's service, another moment where a single tear just so happened to roll down at the perfect time in full view of the press. The internet was convinced that these were crocodile tears, but the real plot twist came gift wrap. Jamie, the podcast host and Meghan's ride or die friend, shared an emotional little story about how Meghan once surprised her with a sweet gift basket during a stressful visit from her in-laws. It included ice cream, homemade strawberry sauce, and a little TLC when she needed it most. Meghan sat there smiling like a Pinterest board come to life. But then, Jamie held up a photo of the card, and that card said, "With compliments of Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex." And if you don't know, HRH stands for Her Royal Highness. This was the same title Meghan and Harry gave up officially when they walked away from royal life back in 2020. They agreed not to use HRH anymore, as a very specific term of their exit deal with Queen Elizabeth. So what was it doing on a jam-smeared gift note over a year later?
Absolutely. I said it's ridiculous that one human being, this is something liberals especially should believe, that you don't call another human being Your Highness? Are you kidding me?
Come on, Phil.
Tabloids pounced. The Daily Mail practically had a field day. One headline screamed that royal aides were highly offended. Critics accused Meghan of clinging to the very royalty she so loudly renounced. Twitter caught fire. "Look who's back to calling herself HRH," one user posted, alongside a meme of a tiara-wearing Meghan holding a tub of ice cream. Her defenders rushed in to explain. It was a private note ages ago and not some big royal stunt. But the damage was done. If you're trying to brand yourself as the sweatpants sweatpants-wearing girl next door. Maybe don't sign your gift cards with a crown on top. One Redditor summed it up best. Ice cream from a Duchess hits different, doesn't it? That little HRH drop turned the whole feel-good story into an eye-roll moment. Instead of warmth, it just added fuel to the already raging fire. And that right there is the core issue. Meghan's biggest critics are not hating for the sake of it. What drives them crazy is the contradiction. She constantly paints herself as the underdog, the misunderstood outsider, the brave soul crushed under the weight of royal expectation and media cruelty. Remember her emotional breakdown in that ITV interview?
Perhaps you could just give us an idea of what the last year has been like. I guess that's a where would you start question, but give it a go.
It's hard.
That became the rallying cry of her and Harry's entire Poor Us narrative. And yet, they're telling this story from a $14 million mansion in Montecito. They've got private security, celebrity pals, exclusive deals with Netflix and Spotify, and cash rolling in from memoirs and documentaries. They jet off on private planes, dine with A-listers, and live in luxury most of us will never touch. Bill Maher didn't hold back. On Piers Morgan's show, he laughed at their contradictions, calling them ridiculous for pleading for privacy while simultaneously publishing their every grievance.
But they're ridiculous after that. They want it both ways. You know, you can't be, these people were so mean to us and poor us, and we don't want all this attention, and then let me write a book about how much we don't want attention.
And the public was feeling it too. Underneath Meghan's podcast clips, the comments were brutal. One viewer called her energy dead. Another said she's a walking contradiction. And then some just weren't buying her big heart story. She did this podcast to make herself look like just another mom, someone wrote. But it always turns into her struggle, her tears, her crown, her trauma. Even when the spotlight's supposed to shine on others, Meghan finds a way to center herself. Critics say it's a pattern, a narrative of Meghan hurts, Meghan cries, Meghan wins. Cue dramatic music. And her interview with Jamie was just another example of that. Meghan cozied up with Jamie on this supposed deep dive podcast that was meant to be all about empowering women. But instead of sharp questions or any kind of real journalism, what we got was basically a Meghan Markle fan club meeting, hosted by Meghan herself, with Jamie as president and cheerleader-in-chief.
But you're the same.
You're the same.
Like, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
And how hard that is when I'm like, but I'm the same.
Jamie literally called Meghan an angel who adds value to her life. Listeners quickly clocked the vibe and caught on to the scripted compliments, soft lighting, and not a single tough question in sight. Critics branded it what it so clearly was, a public relations sugar rush. You'd think after all these years in the spotlight, Meghan would know that audiences can sniff out a polished pitch from a mile away. But nope, she's still rolling out these heavily packaged, perfectly manicured conversations that feel more staged through and through. And let's not forget this is a pattern. Meghan's entire media universe, from Archewell's content to that super fluffed Netflix docuseries, feels like one giant circle of friends and staffers taking turns saying how amazing she is. Some even call it the Meghan Markle Mutual Admiration Society, because every appearance, product, and interview seems less about real storytelling and more about curating the perfect Meghan moment. Take her new podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder. Supposedly, it's meant to spotlight women in business, but Meghan somehow dominates the mic. The first episode was a sit-down with Whitney Wolfe Herd, the founder of Bumble. But instead of drawing out Whitney's journey, Meghan spun the convo back to herself, her health struggles after giving birth, her resilience, her feelings. One reviewer dragged the episode, saying it was less an interview and more a Meghan monologue. Major publications weren't feeling it either. The Guardian and The Telegraph each handed out a measly 2-star review. One columnist called the whole thing a stomach-turning display of self-indulgence. Another said it was so drowned in motivational fluff that it became almost incomprehensible. Like, if I hear own your power or show up for yourself one more time with zero substance behind it, I might start flinging crystals at my podcast app. And the real kicker is that Meghan is apparently struggling to book those big-name guests. Rumors are swirling that she's tried reaching out to A-listers, including Taylor Swift, Beyoncé, maybe even Oprah again, and they're ghosting her like a bad Tinder date. One Hollywood insider didn't hold back, saying, "No one's picking up the phone for that diva." So, who did she get for the first episodes? Well, Jamie, who's already her buddy and a dating app founder. They're respectable women, sure. But let's be honest, these women were not exactly the headline makers Meghan was likely hoping for. A top PR exec summed it up perfectly. This show is crying out for relevance, and it's just not landing. And it's not just the guest list that's falling flat. Word is the buzz is dwindling fast. What started with glossy press releases and Instagram hype has fizzled into boredom. Each project follows the same arc. Launch with fanfare, coast on name recognition, then fade out under critiques of fluff, fakery, and narcissism. Because here's the thing, in the age of TikTok, Twitter, and too many podcasts to count, audiences want authenticity. They want mess, realness, and a little bit of grit. Not a perfectly filtered sob story with a branded logo on top. If everything you say sounds like a team of stylists and PR pros polished at first, people tune out, or worse, they start roasting you. Which brings us to Bill Maher. He had thoughts, and he didn't hold back. On his show, he absolutely torched Meghan's podcast moment, calling it the least genuine thing since the Fire Festival promo. He joked that if Meghan really wanted privacy, maybe she should stop filming every personal thought for Spotify or YouTube. Zing.
You're complaining about your hard life, and you're so privileged. It's just so weird.
It's ridiculous.
Maher also reminded everyone of the couple's ridiculous privilege, calling Meghan and Harry fragile and out of touch. The audience howled when he joked that Meghan was probably upset no one had criticized her that week, like she needs controversy to survive. And Maher wasn't alone. South Park had already skewered the couple with their infamous worldwide privacy tour episode. That cartoon roasted them so hard it trended for days. Then Candace Owens chimed in, sarcastically thanking Meghan for going makeup-free so we could see the real her. And the real her is still unbelievably fake. Late-night hosts, YouTubers, and pretty much every shade-throwing corner of the internet has weighed in by now. The sentiment is that Meghan Markle has somehow made philanthropy and activism all about herself. Again. But what about Prince Harry? Is he quietly staying out of the drama? Of course not. He's doubling down on royal tell-alls like it's his full-time job. His memoir, Spare, was a parade of grievances, dragging King Charles, criticizing royal parenting, and even suggesting his dad lied about security money. On interviews and press runs, Harry keeps hammering home the message that the monarchy is stuck in a cycle of genetic pain. He's dishing out hot takes on everything from emotional well-being to his father's alleged emotional coldness. And every time he opens his mouth, the headlines erupt, and so does the irony, because this is the same man who swore he wanted privacy. Their recent trip to New York for the Time 100 Summit in April 2025 was supposed to be a polished, poised rebrand. Meghan stood on stage and declared she was the happiest I've ever been. She beamed about her healthy kids, her supportive husband, and all her glorious projects. Her tone was pure triumph, but even that went sideways. A clip went viral of Harry reaching for her hand as they walked on stage, and Meghan completely ignoring him. She marched forward like she didn't even notice, while Harry awkwardly trailed behind. And that's the real problem. When the world sees you as all glitz, spin, and self-promotion, even the smallest gesture gets scrutinized. Every skipped event, every tear, every awkward hand miss, it all gets added to the growing perception that this couple lives in a bubble of fame-chasing, victim-playing chaos.